welcome, welcome. Yes, it is I, the conspicuous Moo. So, how have you gotten on? Have you had fun? I have to say that, my first impressions of Shadowlands have been very, very good. I've been very, very into it. I've made lots of mistakes and learnt a lot of things about how to play a brewmaster too, which has been very beneficial. In this video, I just want to quickly go over my first impressions, what I think of it, the storyline, the characters, just the general ambience of the zones. Then I'll go into just a couple of further thoughts, and then if you're interested, my own personal adventures in Shadowlands so far as well. So, let's get cracking! We kick things off with Bastion. Now, I have never, throughout the course of the whole beta iteration, was very keen on the idea of the Kyrians in the first place, and going through Bastion hasn't really changed that opinion at all. It is comfortably my least favourite zone in Shadowlands at the moment, and yes, that does include the Moor. Now, I don't think any of the zones, go out of their way to be stunningly original, but Bastion really, really does strongly remind me of Argus. And, if you did Argus, that campaign, I didn't have very many fond memories of that area, and you probably didn't either. But the Macquarie section, it's got, all the buildings are quite similar. You've got the Army of the Light kind of feel to it, and it just seems like, the Kyrians and the Army of the Light are rather closely entwined together in this one. And, maybe there's a possible future story option in there as well. Because there have been some hints along the way that the Army of the Light aren't quite as, pristine and shiny and squeaky clean as possible, and the Kyrians have a similar storyline going on here. The story itself didn't particularly grab me. I don't think this was a particularly good opening to Shadowlands, because, I came out of the first few hours sort of going, well, yeah, it's alright, yeah, it's okay. Which isn't really the feeling you want. I feel like I don't really agree with the Kyrians' approach on pretty much everything, and I was actually going for the, what are they? The Forsworn. I was actually on Team Forsworn. I think they've got the right idea. I don't see why you'd have to delete your previous lives' memories. Possibly that could be an asset of some kind, going forward. But no, they just want you to wipe the slate clean and be a good little robot, a good little Kyrian. So yeah, I don't like these guys. I do like their brewmaster ability though. Weapons of Order, for a 2-minute ability, seems to come around very, very regularly, and it really does feel like, you're making a difference when you hit it. Not all of the brewmaster abilities are, impactful, like I press this and damn, I can see the difference. You definitely can with Weapons of Order. It's definitely got some punch to it, so that's a very, very big plus. File, relatively useful. I didn't really use it that much in questing. It's not an ability that you would use a lot in questing, because you're never really in any danger and you don't have any deadly bleeds that you need to clean off. So I'm sure it would be fine, and the stewards themselves are very cute. But in terms of Covenant choice, they were never going to be cute enough for me. Maldraxxus and the Necrolords. Right. I actually really enjoyed Maldraxxus. I think it's probably my second favourite of the 4 main zones, because you've got very familiar architecture. You've got all the bone structures and and the sort of weird rotting Zangarmarsh feel to it with the little mushrooms that you can zip up and down to get different chests. That's been very fun as well. The story itself and the entire construction of the zone, I think, is really, really good. You get to do basically a grand tour de force around all of the major houses, and Draka, of course, is absolutely wonderful throughout, and they've got a lot of great supporting cast there as well. You have the grand betrayal at the end, and even coming into the zone, when you just get into that fracas and you're sort of like, this is out of Gladiation, and just what is going on? I guess I'm just going to have to, windmill my way around this place, killing as many things as possible to get out of here. It was a really, really striking, great fun start to the zone, and it just went on from there. So I thought, I thought the whole quest chain was great. I thought the whole storyline was great. There's a lot more to come there, and the fishing's pretty good too. In terms of Bone Dust Brew, I know that it's making a benefit, but it's not as obvious as other abilities, and so it's okay. I'm sure it's doing a great job, and I can see on the meters that it's doing an okay job. It's just, you know, when I hit it, I don't feel like it's doing anything, and I think that's probably its greatest weakness in terms of general feel. Fleshcraft, I've actually enjoyed Fleshcraft more than I thought I would. You know, the 4-second channel isn't inconvenient when you're just in overland content. If you're running Mythic Keys, this could be more of a problem. It's a nice little, you know, head start shield going into the next mob pull, so, you know, particularly, you know, when we're at lower gear levels and we're taking more damage than usual. I'm sure you've been seeing your health bars go down faster than they normally do. It's nice to have that little head start with Fleshcraft. So yeah, it's okay. I mean, it was never going to be a great ability. Oh boy, Ardenweald, or Ardenweald, as I like to call it, because I don't know, somewhere along the line I started calling her the Queen, so it's Ardenweald as well. I think it's from that Blackadder episode. Do you remember the one, Dear Queen? On the contrary, we have met many times. Anyway, moving on. Ardenweald is my favourite zone so far, of course, by some distance. I've always been a bit of a sucker for the, you know, the natural beauty zones. You know, even Nagrand, you know, it's flat, but it's green and feralous. You know, places like that. Never been much for the desolate look. So it was always going to be one of my favourite areas to start with. The music in this place is the best. I love the music in Ardenweald. I thought the story, it's not as strong as the other zones in terms of story, but I'm still trying to, maybe I missed it along the way. I wasn't entirely sober during the leveling process, but I do wonder how all these Drust managed to get into Ardenweald in the first place. Because you'd think, you know, if the Arbiter was still up, the Arbiter wouldn't be going, yeah, these people are worth sending back. I did go out of my way, and you don't really have to go that far out of your way, it has to be said, to get the Cradle Seed mount as well. You have to pick up 5 or 6 items, and you compile them into a little toolkit, and you give it to the lady, and the lady reveals the cradle to you. And you go off in your own little cradle. It's wonderful. It's wonderful moving around in Ardenweald. Does kind of stick out a bit if you're in Revendreth in this thing, but, you know, it's still a lovely little mount, and definitely well worth going after. Feline Stomp, oh, it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful ability. It does feel, when you hit Feline Stomp, it's the tankiest. It feels the tankiest of the 4 abilities to me. It feels like, yeah, you're not getting past me on this one. I can pull additional things and I don't really care. Although, bear in mind that Feline Stomp does have a 5 target cap, which they never ever took off, and I'm not at all bitter about that at all. But of course it does have the static problem, so you know, you lay it down and it's like, oh, this is great, as long as I stay on this it's fine, and then there's a hunter pet from the right who pulls them off the Feline Stomp, and you know, you provoke it back and then they re-taunt off again and you can't reset. So I have been struggling quite a bit with the whole static nature of it. You know, I'm learning to live with it. Soul Shape has been a surprising winner for me. I mean, I thought, you change your shape and that's cute, and I can be a moose as long as I can find the shape, and that'll be fine. But Soul Shape's actually been really useful just for pinging around the place as well. You know, I had no idea I had so much of inner mage inside me that I just wanted to flicker constantly, and I have been doing much flicking. I hope that cat. Did you see that cat in the early quests? The little big-faced cat. I love cats. So, yeah, if I could be a kitty, I'm definitely looking into that. Revendreth and the Benthere boys. And this, like Maldraxxus, is another of those zones where I thought, yeah, this is going to be terrible, and it was actually really, really good. really, really enjoyed it. Not because, you know, they're doing anything outstandingly original, but because they're just doing it well. So, you know, there are a surprising amount of really quite brutal themes in this zone, and also, you know, there's lots of different looks. You know, you've got the Amber Ward, and you've got Sinful, and you've got Castle Nathria itself, and you've got the little market towns, and then they've actually, you know, contributed a lot to the actual flavour of the zone as well. This, I think, in terms of, you know, just the background and the landscaping and the characters and the setups, this is the strongest zone. It's got, you know, the difficult political machinations going on, and you've got different factions over here, and even the families are separated, and you know, you have the different districts, so you've got like, everything's absolutely fine, everything's marvellous, everything's wonderful, and then everything isn't wonderful because Draven has just dragged you off in that direction and you're now flying. Talking to Draven, what a guy. you're ever looking for an alpha male in World of Warcraft, I think you just found him. My goodness. He's also a soulbind as well, and he's a very, very good tanking soulbind. He's not going to be available for quite a bit, but he's definitely worth picking up if you have gone down the way of Fallen Order. Fallen Order itself, meh. I mean, it's just, as a tank, it's not a tanking ability. You know, it's a DPS burst, and it's a very nice DPS burst, don't get me wrong. It's just, you know, you don't really get the full benefit of it while you're doing overland questing and stuff, because, you know, you're only facing 2 mobs and you hit this thing and they just disappear. The other thing about it is, I couldn't help noticing they're all Pandaren. All of these Fallen Order monks are Pandaren. I mean, presumably, you know, there are a few Draenei and Vulpin and Gnomes have fallen along the way. It would have been nice to have some additional characters there, but, you know, that's a very, very minor thing, but I just thought, you know, there's a lot in the monk family. I mean, I think it's only Worgen and Goblins who can't be monks at this point, and there's no particular reason for that either. Moving on, Door of Shadows is another of those abilities, like File of Serenity, where you didn't really need to use it all that much. I mean, you did it specifically at one point, but otherwise you didn't really need to use it all that much during the questing experience. You could get to everywhere you wanted to, so I did actually forget that I had it for most of the time anyway. Torghast and the Maw. I love Torghast, I've got to say. Love it. I was nervous about it because I didn't really know. It was an unknown quantity for me. It wasn't something I could test or anything. So, you know, I got sent in for my first couple of times and I just didn't want to leave. I had a wonderful time in there. Yeah, I was making mistakes, you know, I was like, pulling everything, oh, hang on, I'm not geared like that anymore. And then having to start again and be a little bit more tactical about things and, you know, actually use paralysis and my soul trap and all of the other things. The pot smashing thing I found completely by accident because I think I had Rushing Jade Wind on at the time, and it just oh look, you can smash those and you get additional goodies. Fantastic. The animal power stuff is really fun. This is obviously, you know, from a development perspective, this is where they had fun with designing stuff. This is all the stuff that they really would have liked to put into the main part of the game but couldn't because it would just be so horribly imbalanced that, you know, everyone would just be going nuts in the forums and they would probably crash. There's an animal power called like Fatal Guillotine, Flying Guillotine Killing Thing. Yes, I'm definitely sure that's what the name is. That lets you touch with death everyone. That was fantastic fun. And then there's another animal power that actually reduces the cooldown and it stacks as well, so you can, you know, I think it's by 36 seconds every time, but, you know, if you stack it up, you get those two together, you just wonderful. Unexpected bonus are those little satchels. You only get them every once in a while, but you get like ore in them or gems. And of course, you know, gems in particular at the moment are rather expensive, so it's been quite a profitable little gambit just being able to. I think it was the Venthia one that had gems in it. But, you know, there's also food and meat and all the rest of it. So yeah, those nice little reward satchels is something you can take away from Torghast, which is nice. Then you've got that vendor in the middle, like on floor 3 and floor 6. So you just sort of pop up and do your repairs and, you know, buy a couple of stupidly overpowered animal abilities and then go back into the fray again. So he's a nice little break from tradition. Soul Ash, absolutely. You could only get up to 8-10 Soul Ash in the first week, unless you were lucky enough for it to show up in like a mission table. Apparently some people have been picking that up from there. So it isn't capped at 8-10. If you are fortunate enough, then you will get another opportunity there. But yeah, basically I'm a fan. I really like Torghast. I think it's great. I'm hoping that there's a frozen zone, I think, coming up in Torghast, and that's the one that has the Charred Passion's legendary power in it. So I'm hoping that one rocks up, but yeah, for the most part, if it doesn't, I don't care. It's just so much fun. Oh yeah, and the Maw. Well, you know, it's alright. The Maw is not anything new and exciting in any way, shape or form. You know, it is a combination of Tartarus Isle and Broken Shore and Argus and everything else with a bit of Stygia and a vendor there with a whole bunch of different contraptions, and You know, I did enjoy running around. I mean, you know, I kept an eye on the jailer, and the jailer definitely kept an eye on me, and as soon as I got to the fourth one, you know, where the things come down, they grab you and pull you up, I thought, yeah, I've had enough of this, I'm not into that. I mean, I have so many different ways to stop myself from falling, but no, I wasn't going for that. As soon as I hit level 4, I usually just, I'm out of here. But, you know, at the moment at least, I don't hate it. It's one of those things where you just keep chipping away until you've got everything and you're immune to practically everything in the maw. And I'm sure that down the line that they'll introduce more interesting things in there as well, apart from, you know, just the occasional mini-bosses and dailies and Angry Moorman. So yeah, that's it. I mean, my first impressions of Shadowlands have been really, really positive. I really enjoyed the leveling experience. I didn't rush. I took my time. I listened to, there was a lot of voice acting, so I listened to all the voice acting and, you know, tried to understand all of the quests and the way the story was going. And but yeah, no, I'm still having a great time. And for the most part, you know, Shadowlands has worked really well. There have been a couple of instances with server issues. I'm sure that some of you would have encountered those yourself. On Oceania, it's the same problem we've had since BFA, where the sharding system is so ineffectual that, you know, basically if the game is at any point popular, then your latency, even though it says it's at 50 milliseconds, is closer to 2000. And, you know, try playing with that for a couple of hours and you get a bit annoyed, feel upset. My character, you know, stayed true to the path all the way through, chose the Night Fae as my covenant, got into Phalanx Stomp, had a couple of days of that, had a few drinks, and then went, you know, the grass really is greener on the Necrolord side, abandoned the Night Fae, joined the Necrolords, decided an hour later that I didn't like the Necrolords, they were a bit rubbish, and then tried to rejoin the Night Fae, and of course now I'm a traitor, so I'm between covenants right now. I've done the first section of, you know, making it up to Ardenweald. I was there until the small hours of the morning, because I'd done all the world quests earlier, and I had to fill the progress bar to 100%, and it was like 12% an open world boss, so I just went around trying to find as many bosses as I possibly could. So I have half redeemed myself for the Night Fae, and I will fully redeem myself in the following week and get back to my Phalanx stomping. But for now I'm Bone Dust Brewing, which isn't bad, it's just not as much fun. I'd like to apologise to my Kveen. Please don't behead me. And yeah, that's it for this video. I'm just sort of kind of a rambling first impressions video for you. But I do hope you enjoyed it, and I do hope that you like and comment and subscribe. I will be back relatively quickly because I've got another one coming up on engineering, because I've completed the engineering. It's definitely not an overall, you know, big tick pass mark for engineering, sadly, for Shadowlands, but you know, we can at least throw some suggestions in. There's plenty of patches left to go. Anyway, until then, I am the Conspicuous Moo, and a really good morning to you.